Your greatest challenges aren't here to break you. They're actually here to shape you. What I want to do is I'm going to share with you how to discover that your struggles are in fact secretly guiding you to your purpose, and that adversity can become the very thing that unlocks your highest fulfillment. My name is Peter Abundant, aka Dr. Abundant, PhD and ordained Minister of Metaphysical Sciences. I'm also the author of The Enlightened Shadow and Spiritual Not Religious, both available on Amazon and Audible. Challenges are really you unconsciously facing purpose. You may feel like it's the total opposite. But first, you need to recognize that challenges are a natural part of life, right? We all face them. We all deal with them. But I want you to recognize that you're not being singled out. You're not being punished. You're not being picked on by the universe, by God, by some kind of spiritual entity or being. In actuality, the challenges that you're going through are, in fact, the universe supporting you. But because you have a limited perspective and a limited view on exactly the big picture of things, it's hard for you to actually gain insight to that, to take ownership of that, to recognize that. You must understand, though, that your brain is wired to avoid discomfort. But by avoiding discomfort, that means that the brain is actually wired to see discomfort, to identify problems, challenges. That ultimately means that the brain is constantly looking out for challenges. It is looking for them. Doesn't that seem counterproductive, counterintuitive? But that's where we really get into the understanding of contrast or opposites, how one thing actually supports the other, even though they're supposed to be completely different and even in conflict with one another. Essentially, though, they are not different. They are just spectrums. They are two sides of a spectrum of the same essence. So when we think about challenges, when we think about problems, when we think about the brain and how it works, how you essentially identify problems and even find that you are dealing with problems on an ongoing basis, that is because your brain is wired to deal with problems. Your brain is actually a problem-solving machine. So in order for it to actually do what it is made to do by way of the subconscious, the conscious mind, the unconscious, and the ego, it is needing to identify potential problems when they occur, right? When they are available, when you may notice them, or even from past experiences. So the brain is actually doing what it's supposed to be doing. Now, here's the thing, though. You are supposed to identify what the brain does, and with skills like meditation, mindfulness, you are to actually calm the brain down. Tell the brain to be still, to even recognize that the brain and all of its doing as far as looking for problems, holding on to a particular problem, worrying about a problem, worrying about the outcome, and also worrying that the outcome is going to be the worst possible outcome that you can think of. You have to recognize that the mind is doing what it is supposed to do. And in order for you to really deal with seeing challenges and obstacles and problems differently, you have to recognize and understand that's how the mind works. So by doing that, you begin to gain power over any potential problems, any negativity that is happening in your life currently, and therefore that will happen afterwards. Because that is the part of your beingness, right? Your human experience that actually looks for problems in order for you to get around the problem, to really not be harmed by the problem, to not be, facing the problem in a way that throws you completely off. So when you understand the brain is actually a problem-solving solution or machine. It has to look for problems because that is its purpose. Then you can understand that by not identifying with what the brain is seeing and looking at and essentially creating, then you begin to separate yourself from the challenges, from a particular challenge that you may be going through right now. That is simply just your brain doing what it does. That is not you. You see? So instead of trying to avoid the problem, just simply recognize that the problem isn't real. It is just a creation of the mind that has been mismanaged. Okay? Because you haven't realized what the brain is doing in the first place. You haven't realized that this is what the brain does. And so all this time, you've been identifying with what this reality of being led by the brain and identifying as who you are, right? You've been led down this path. And now you may have heard for the first time that, okay, this is not me. This is just a functioning of my brain. Then you can begin to let go. You begin to relax. You begin to be free from the challenge, from the challenges. Okay. So by recognizing and categorizing these challenges as a symptom, as a byproduct of a mismanaged brain, you begin to free yourself and detach yourself from the identity, from the intensity, from the urgency of this particular challenge or problem. Now, this in itself will shift your mindset from trying to escape the struggle in itself and seeing that the struggle is just simply a reality that the mind has put on you, that has created for you, because that is what the mind does. And by learning how to quiet the mind, do you actually begin to make breakthroughs in your spiritual power and understanding that you are just simply a creator of your universe, and you don't have or did not have the access, the understanding as to how you have been creating it thus so far. You thought that the universe was created by someone, something else, or it just is, and you are just roaming and existing in this reality based on randomness and circumstance, based on coincidence rather than synchronicity. Understand that you are projecting the reality that you're experiencing, whether you know it or not. The problem is most of us don't know it. So once we get ownership, once we get a recollection of that fact that, wait a minute, if I am creating this, then I need to take charge and ownership of all the aspects of me that influence this reality that I'm experiencing in order for you to actually take ownership of that reality, to create that reality, the reality that you desire, that aligns with who you are. So you begin to embrace this understanding with a sense of openness that basically all things are possible when you are dialed in. So what I want you to ask yourself right now is, what if this particular challenge you're going through isn't here to punish you, right? But actually to prepare you. Now we're going to go deeper into what does that mean? If you are creating your own reality and you are going through a challenge, and this challenge is a byproduct of the brain looking for problems because it is a problem solver, and you're going through a challenge and you recognize that this challenge isn't to punish you, but is actually here to prepare you. How is that the case? So the mind is looking for problems. Why is that? It is a problem solver, but on the spiritual level, challenges that you're dealing with now are simply a byproduct of misalignment, essentially you not being at a space where you recognize who you are. And so the challenges that you're facing now are just simply echoes, reminders, clues, right? Hints, breadcrumbs to lead you along the path of self-realization. It is you on a superconscious level trying to communicate to you something that you haven't seen yet, something that you haven't come to realize yet, right? So it's sending you clues, it's sending you symbols, is speaking to you by way of frequency, by way of code through the universe, because it can't just speak to you straightforward in language. It's speaking to you spiritually through experience. So the experiences that you're having now, the challenge that you're having now, isn't just simply a superficial, shallow level challenge of, well, bills are tough, right? You're struggling financially. That is not a challenge of simply you need to make more money. Though, yes, your mind may create that as a solution to a problem, and that is a valid solution. But then when you go deeper into a spiritual level, what does that mean? That means that you haven't tapped into your abundance. You haven't tapped into the frequency of financial success or prosperity, or simply the abundance that's everything is here and available and accessible to you. There are still some blocks. There are still some belief systems that are stopping you from having that abundant experience to create that abundant reality for yourself. So this is what the challenge is doing. The challenge is bringing something to your awareness that would allow you to have a realization. You see, adversities, they hold hidden power. This is what I want you to understand. So look at your challenges as teachers in disguise, and always be willing to face them. Be willing to walk through the fire. So that way you come out the other side a changed, enlightened being. You come through the other side as you truly are. You see, you're not who you truly are right now because limitations, lack, right? Unease, frustration, discomfort, that isn't your natural state. That isn't who you are. And so when you walk through the fire of these challenges, as you recognize them as teachers, then you can understand that each one is showing you something, is giving you insight, but you have to be available to it. So when we often go through challenges and we look at those challenges and we feel discouraged, we feel frustrated, we feel just unease, and we feel like we need some shortcuts or some initial ways to just simply pacify the problem, the challenge, the situation, without really asking ourselves the question, why? Why is this happening to me? Why does it continue to happen? And what is it that I am not doing or seeing that would allow me to shift, to elevate the frequency, to have a different experience? So a lot of times we get really comfortable being uncomfortable. And so you don't ask yourself that question. You just think that's the way it is. And then many times, because the universe is reflecting back to you what you are, as you go out in the world and exchange with other people, you see that other people may be having a similar experience. So instead of recognizing that they are reflections of you, we often just simply see that, oh, this problem is common amongst all people, so therefore I should be used to it. It's okay. It's normal. But it's not normal. It's just simply the normalcy of your current frequency. And when you recognize that that's not your true frequency, that's not the frequency you're supposed to be on, because your consciousness is trying to tell you, hey, you have things to do beyond this, ways of being beyond this, and it's showing you that through things like your desires, things like your dreams, right? Your talents, your passions. Those things are guiding you toward the frequency that is meant for you. And so do not allow yourself to be comfortable while being uncomfortable. It is not okay. Once you recognize that the things that you're going through, the pattern, the rhythm is constantly happening, then you have to go within and you have to face it. You have to even use anger if you can to face it. Be disgusted, get pissed off. But understand that that feeling is just simply to make the breakthrough, to break through that wall, to break through that cage. And so you can be free in a space of abundance and unlimited availability, right? Unrestrictive, unapologetic. Okay. So get curious about why this challenge exists. What is it here to show you? What is it here to expose, to bring light to you? Okay. Stop letting things like fear dictate your responses. Because oftentimes when we are dealing with a challenge, we don't want to really approach it because there is something we fear behind it. Now, here's the thing though. The fear isn't also you, right? It's not you. The fear is from the ego. The fear is from the ego and its unwillingness, right? Or its lack of faith and understanding in the beauty of transitioning out of this place of comfortable discomfort, right? The ego likes being comfortable, even if it is uncomfortable. It likes being familiar. And so if you continue to have this challenge and you just simply pacify it, you put a Band-Aid on it and you just keep it moving, you put some duct tape on it and you just keep it moving, of course, it's going to show up again. And every time it does show up again, and you keep doing the same thing, though you may understand that, hey, this is not you, this is your ego, you still have a responsibility to look at it, to recognize the pattern, and to break free from that pattern. You break free from that pattern by not allowing yourself to submit to fear. Do not fear addressing the pattern, addressing the problem, walking through the fire. Because the quicker you address the problem, guess what? The quicker the problem goes away forever. The quicker you ascend, the quicker you increase, heightened your frequency, and ascend beyond the state of having that problem again. So here's another question. What is the situation trying to show me about myself? That's the common question you should be asking yourself when something, especially a challenge, is continuously happening over and over. But with any other challenge, it still applies. Ask yourself that question because that will ultimately expand your consciousness around not just a temporary answer, but a permanent solution. Reframe how you see struggles, okay? Because you have to start telling yourself the truth, right? That challenges are not random, right? They are meaningful. They have meaning, and that meaning is attached to who you are and who you are being and who you are meant to become. Ultimately, who you truly are. So instead of asking yourself, why me, and, you need to ask yourself essentially, what's the lesson here, right? Not why me, but really, What is the lesson? What am I here to gain? What am I here to understand? What is the lesson here? Okay. Every obstacle, every challenge holds a message. So begin to identify what your current challenge is inviting you to become. Because that's all it is. It's an invitation. May not be the prettiest invitation, right? Wrapped in a nice envelope with a ribbon on it and a nice signature. But it's still an invitation to awakening, to purpose. So let your challenges point you towards your purpose. Pay attention to what matters most to you in the midst of the struggle. And that's where purpose begins to emerge. It begins to unfold. It begins to reveal itself to you. Because on the other side of that fire that you got to go through is a beautiful path. A path of joy, fulfillment, happiness, abundance, success, all the things that you truly desire, that you think about constantly, that you fantasize about. Think about what you've learned, right? How you've grown and how that growth can serve others as well. Because we've established that, the universe, it's all one. You are creator of this universe. You are created by the universe. And so when you think about yourself, also recognize that other people are a part of that. Other people are reflections of yourself. The universe is a reflection of yourself. How you see other people says a lot about you. How you see and interact with the universe says everything about you. So once you acknowledge the root of all the problems, the solutions, the answers, the experiences, the joy, the excitement is you, then it shifts everything as you see it. It shifts your understanding of the challenges, of the situations, of the events. And you recognize that it's all coming down to your evolution. It's all coming down to your path toward enlightenment. We are all on this journey. It's just that our journey is different because each individual is different. So use the pain as a launch pad. Okay? Let it direct you. Let it direct you, not define you. Don't identify with the pain. Pain, just like when it comes to the physical body, is simply a signal. It's a sign. It's a communication. It's a communication between you and other aspects of you, aka the universe. The universe is just simply telling you, we need to maybe move. It's like if you put your hand over a fire or a flame, right? And you're not even aware of it, right? You're going to feel the pain. Your body, your instinct is going to instantly pull away from that flame. And so the universe is showing you this challenge so that way you can pull away from the flame or walk through the flame. But you most definitely don't stay in the flame. Okay? So another question. Ask yourself, how can I use this experience to become more aligned with who I'm truly meant to be? It's about coming into a state of awareness that you're currently not who you're meant to be, and that there's a wisdom, there's an intellect that is supporting you toward becoming that. And it is showing you, highlighting places, states of being where it isn't clear to you exactly what you need to be doing right now, how you need to be thinking, what you need to be thinking about, how you need to be feeling. And so this challenge is just simply a signal. It's simply a sign. It's simply a way by which the universe can align you. Okay. So recognize that, again, these challenges are going to happen because there is always different levels of ascension, right? Enlightenment doesn't just end there. There's beyond that, right? There's spaces and realms and realities and vibrations. It never stops. You only understand it, recognize it, embrace it, recognizing that because this is life and this is why you're here, you have to be willing to push through, right? So once you understand what challenges are, they cease to be challenges and more like encouragements, more like guides, supportive, instead of, teachers that are strict and harsh. And so what happens is this builds up a state of resilience, and at the same time, a life fulfilled. It's like you're tough, but you're also soft. You're tough because when challenges and obstacles come up, you don't freak out about it. It's no big deal. This is life, whatever, right? You address it head on, but yet you are smiling, you are joyful, you are at peace. So it isn't about surviving anymore. It's about thriving. You see, the more you embrace the challenges, the stronger, and yet the more peaceful you become inside. So whatever this challenge is you're going through, embrace it, take it, caress it, receive it, ask it questions, because that is how you're going to cease from having the challenge repeat itself over and over and over again. This is how you're going to ascend beyond the challenge and break through into a whole new realm, whole new stratosphere of existence. You see, purpose comes from growth. And the more you grow, the more dialed into your purpose you become. But growth comes from challenge. So you have to accept the challenge. You have to keep acknowledging that there's a challenge and that this challenge is meant for you to experience in order for you to grow, in order for you to align with purpose and achieve your purpose. You're being refined, not rejected. So don't see these problems, these challenges as something that is knocking you down a peg or two, that is pulling you away or taking you away from your purpose or happiness. Stay present, stay open, and trust in every hard thing that you're facing. Trust that it is a part of a higher plan. And that plan is essentially leading you to the life that you're meant for. Thanks so much. Feel free to go to drabundant.com, subscribe to my daily newsletter, get access to this free ebook, The Power Within, and so much more. Continue to join me on this journey. Peace and abundance always.